Good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, February 15, 2022, 4 p.m. meeting of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee of the Metropolitan Council. I am counting council members Young, Allen, Cash, Evans, Gamble, Hurt, Nash, O'Connell, Roten, and Swope present. I do not see Henderson and Bradford as of yet. Okay. I have some suggested items for a consent agenda. I'll read the resolution and bill numbers, and then if you want to pull anything, wave, raise your hand, holler, and we'll do it. I am suggesting RS 2022-1378. Pull it. All right. 1387, 1388, BL 2022 1091, 1092, 1093, 1094, 1095, 1096, 1097, and 1112. Any of those items to be pulled. We already pulled RS 2022-1378. Seeing no one wanted to pull those, I will read the captions and we will, well actually, do I have a motion on the consent agenda? Thank you, and I will read the captions. RS 2022-1387 Allen, Withers, Young, and others approves an intergovernmental agreement by and between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and the Metro Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure and CSX Transportation, Incorporated, for resurfacing from west of Harpeth Valley Road to east of Hillwood Boulevard. RS 2022-1388 Johnson, Allen, Withers, and Young approves Amendment 2 to an agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and the Metro Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure for the acceptance of work in connection with the construction of a sidewalk on Harding Place, Phase 3, from Danby Drive to Nolensville Pike. Then BL 2022-1091 O'Connell, Withers, and Young authorizes Nashville Urban Venture LLC to install, construct, and maintain underground encroachments in the right-of-way located at 609 Overton Street. BL 2022-1092 Van Reese, Withers, Bradford, and others provides the honorary street name designation of David McMurray Way for a portion of Woodruff Street. BL 2022-1093 O'Connell, Allen, Withers, and Young authorizes the Metro Department of Water and Sewerage Services, herein known as Metro, to enter into an agreement with PR Germantown LLC, hereinafter known as Developer, to provide improved public sanitary sewer service through the construction of an improved stormwater system. BL 2022-1094 O'Connell, Withers, and Young accepts new sanitary sewer main and sanitary sewer manholes for property located at 806 16th Avenue North, also known as the Lofts at Marathon. BL 2022-1095 Hager, Withers, and Young accepts new water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for two properties located at 725 Tulip Grove Road and 4811 Lisa Ann Lane, also known as Tulip Springs Townhomes. BL 2022-1096 O'Connell, Withers, and Young abandons and removes existing water main and to accept new water main and fire hydrant assembly for property located at 804 14th Avenue North. BL 2022-1097 Young and Withers abandons existing public sanitary sewer main and sanitary sewer manhole and to accept new sanitary sewer mains and sanitary sewer manholes for three properties located at 1170, 1176, and 1180 Dickerson Pike, also known as Dickerson Pike Townhomes. And last but not least, Councilman O'Connell has BL 2022-1112 authorizes the acquisition of an interest in a parcel of real property and approving the granting of an easement above and below the same parcel in connection with the development of a project located at 215 and 217 3rd Avenue North. We had a motion and second. All of those in favor of the consent agenda indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, and any abstentions. The consent agenda is approved, what is that, 10? 10-0. All right, that brings us to RS 2022-1378 by Young, approves an assignment, assumption, and amending agreement by and among Flow Incorporated, doing business as Cord, Sidewalk Labs LLC, and the Metro government. Councilman O'Connell, you requested to pull this. We have a motion, and you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just curious about this assignment. I had already understood Cord to be affiliated with Sidewalk Labs, and just really interested in why this is necessary.
You or Sherry? Ms. Costanis, you're recognized.
Hi, Councilmember Teresa Costanis with Metro Legal. I worked on that matter. So it's my understanding that Cord, it's just more of a legal name change, that Sidewalk has acquired Cord, and they want the agreement to be in the name of the current entity.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, our understanding as Metro is that since we initiated the pilot, there has been an organizational structure change where Sidewalk has fully acquired Cord.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all I've got, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think this might extend the pilot as well, by 3 or 4 months, maybe? Yes. I'm getting a nod. Yes. All right. Any further? I apologize. Any further discussion? All right. I see Councilmember Henderson is present. All right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. All those in favor of RS 2022-1378? Okay. Those opposed? And any abstentions? All right. That is an 11-0 vote. That now brings us to Councilmember Allen, bill on second reading 2022-1089. It amends Chapter 6.77 and Chapter 7.24 of the Metro Code pertaining to the operation and regulation of entertainment transportation vehicles. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to begin discussion. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what my motion is. So
okay. So for now, let's maybe move to approve.
Let's move for approval. I understand there's an amendment I would like to discuss, and then we may change that motion.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Allen. I will go ahead and move the proposed amendment. It is my amendment. In committees? I don't think you do. I don't think. Well, is there a second on the motion to approve? All right. And then I will move my amendment. Is there a second for discussion? Okay. And this amendment, I think it's safe to call it a sort of a compromise between those in the industry, those in the from the hospitality groups. Essentially, this amendment does two things. It deletes the prohibition on standing on an entertainment vehicle, and it deletes the language about enclosures. And my logic behind deleting the language about enclosures is for us to codify the exact definition and type of enclosure. I think we might be setting ourselves up to have to revisit this continually because there might be ways in the future that an operator can enclose the vehicle that satisfies safety and noise requirements, and rather than us having to open the code every time that occurs, this allows the TLC the authority to do that, because under Councilmember O'Connell's original legislation that was passed in, I think it was December when we did it, we gave very broad authority to the TLC when it comes to noise and safety. I think that this is probably a much cleaner, more efficient way of keeping check on that rather than us having to come back and revisit it. I think with this amendment, it will show our partners at the state that we are working towards a solution on this, and will give them what they need for them to move forward with the legislation that gives us the authority that we need, rather than them boxing us in and taking away some of that authority. So at that point, I will procedurally say this. I think there had been discussion of attaching the amendment and then possibly deferring. However, if we do that, we need to make sure that that is done on the floor. If we defer in committee, then there's an automatic deferral and the amendment will not get attached. So we would need to pass the amendment in committee, or recommend the amendment in committee on the floor, attach the amendment, and then a motion for a deferral if that's the will of the body. I just don't want us to, if we defer here, then it's automatically deferred without the amendment on it on the floor. So, Councilmember Allen, I will go to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is relevant to the amendment, although I'm actually going to talk more about this bill. As we all know, Councilmember O'Connell, back in October, I think, basically just put in place a pause on the entertainment vehicles that we had not been able to regulate because they were over a certain size, and state law did not give us the ability to regulate it all. And everyone at all levels of government agreed that that had gotten out of hand, and we are all really grateful for what Councilmember O'Connell did. And he did that with the statement that we may need to come back and clean up at a later date. And at this point, we are, as you have said, trying to partner with legislators at the state level who are giving us the authority to regulate, which we did not have before, and that is a good thing. We are trying to address concerns that they have in a way that they give us maximum control at the local level. And I appreciate your refinements, and I'm eager to hear what the group has to say about that. I just want folks to feel comfortable with the fact that what we have in place now will give us the ability to regulate the routes, where they travel, their hours of operation, how many of them there are through the permitting process, and also noise, which has been a huge issue. And as you've mentioned, a more refined definition of enclosure as materials change or things like that, so that we can adjust to that quickly. And also to give the TLC authority on seating versus standing versus whatever. So I think it's important for people to understand that there's a huge gain here, and if we can keep it that way so that we retain local control through our TLC, who listens to a lot of what we say, then that will be very beneficial and will make things definitely much better than they were back in October. So with that, I welcome the rest of the discussion on the amendment.
Councilmember O'Connell, I believe you had raised your hand. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to affirm a couple things that you all have said. I have, since the passage of that initial bill, since we've gotten very good and important feedback from people who were observing the regulatory landscape, including those in industry and those who had been affected by industry. As I've continued my conversations with organizations that supported our regulatory approach with industry and with members of both the House and the Senate at the state level, I am pretty confident that if we do the things that the amended version of this bill will do, we can arrive at a place where we cleanly secure the appropriate authority we want for the Transportation Licensing Commission and can establish a long-term regulatory environment that works for all parties. So I would encourage colleagues to seriously consider and support your amendment and then the bill as amended. And I think a deferral for one meeting just to make sure, again, that we are staying in basically keeping pace with the regulatory authority piece that is happening at the state right now would be a good idea. So I think this approach makes a lot of sense, and I support it. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Connell. Anyone else on the amendment? Okay. Are we, Councilmember Allen?
One question I forgot to ask. I would love to hear from a legal person or two in the room. And I would welcome, there's several lawyers over in this corner that I'm happy to hear from and would like to allow them the ability to speak. And also if there are any statements to be made about we're totally sure that this language does legally what we think it does.
Sure. Well, which attorney over here is your favorite? And
I'll start on my left, and we can work our way through if we need to hear from more than one. Mr. Jameson?
Ginger Hauser is with us because, as you know, she's our legislative liaison to the state, and we believe we're on a good course here. We are just trying to make sure that our friends in the state agree that we're on a good course. So our request would be, given the challenges to a deferral here, what that would mean on the floor, if there would be interest in passage, but with re-referral to this committee. So in the event that there's any commentary at the state in the next 2 weeks that we have to tweak something a little further, that it would get this committee's reconsideration as well as consideration by the full council on second.
Did Ms. Costonas have anything to add further to that? Okay.
Any other attorneys in the room want to chime in? All right. So at this point, I think if there's no further questions or discussion, we will vote on recommendation of the amendment. And those in favor indicate by saying aye. And those opposed, any abstentions? All right, that is 11 in favor, 0 against for the amendment. Now, Councilmember Allen, you're recognized on the bill as amended.
And if I understand what you said procedurally, at this level, I need to recommend approval and re-referral to this committee, and knowing that on the floor, we have the option at that point to recommend a deferral after discussion with the...
Correct.
Have I done this correctly?
And if Ms.
Okay.
Darby wants to chime in and confirm that.
Yeah, that's correct. You would move to approve, re-refer, and then on the floor tonight, you can move the amendment and then move for a deferral.
And a re-referral.
And a re-referral.
With that, okay, thank you. So for this committee, I am moving for approval and a re-referral.
All right, excellent. Any further questions or discussion on the bill as amended? All right. All of those in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, any abstentions? That is 11 in favor and 0 against to recommend approval and re-referral to this committee. I believe that concludes our agenda. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.